I ran my first official marathon in 2 hours, 39 minutes and 27 seconds in Paris just 22 months after starting running. In this video, I'm going to be explaining exactly what my carb load was. I'm not saying is, because unfortunately I was a little bit stressed travelling through COVID, so I didn't want to vlog the carb load. I did my carb load for 3 days or 72 hours. However, the day before the race I introduced a few more things into the diet, and I'll explain why I only introduced those a day before and exactly what were those things in this video. What is going on, everyone, and welcome to today's video. A full day of eating in my carb load prep. Spoiler alert, I'm not actually running a race at the minute, but I didn't have a chance to show you guys what my carb load was before the Paris Marathon, which was about 3 weeks ago now. So I'm just doing a little gimmick trial run, but I will be eating exactly what I was eating before the marathon, just to show you exactly what that was. And honestly, my nutrition and my energy for the race, it couldn't have been any better. Genuinely, it could not have been any better. That was the thing that I was probably most proud about in terms of assessing my preparation before the race, was my carb load. It was absolutely perfect. So a few things that I do: I calculate my body weight, or I just weigh myself. Weigh yourself, basically, is what I'm trying to say, and eat 5 grams of carbohydrate per pound of body weight every day for 3 days. That is a simple rule to go by. However, a few things to consider. Obviously, you may have to have more meals throughout the day. I normally intermittent fast on my regular diet. However, when I'm carb loading, I don't intermittent fast, simply because there's been no way I could possibly get in that amount of calories or that amount of carbs without intermittent fasting. I'm not having any more protein or any more fat, maybe a little bit, but I'm not adding it on top of the extra meals that I'm going to be consuming. I'm going to be interrupting this full day of eating in this video just so I break it up in between meals, so I explain things in a little bit more of a digestible manner. That was no pun intended, digesting between foods. In fact, I'm not even sure there is a pun there. There's not a pun there. So what is a carb load and why do we do it? The way I like to explain a carb load is our body has 2 energy sources that it uses. We have fats and carbohydrates. The slower, easier workouts, or the less extensive, less explosive movements, our bodies will be burning predominantly fat, and the more explosive movements, the higher heart rate movements, sprinting, powerlifting for example, we're going to be burning predominantly carbohydrates. For the marathon, my heart rate was operating at probably around 75%, maybe up to 80% of my max heart rate. Now, because my heart rate is so high, I'm going to be burning predominantly carbohydrates. Therefore, I need to fuel my body before the race with carbohydrates, which is basically called our body's glycogen stores, which is essentially the amount of carbohydrates our body is holding on to at one time. Carbohydrates basically fill up your muscles with water, so your muscles look a little bit fuller on a carb load, but essentially we're increasing our glycogen stores so that we have more energy. It's a very unique time of a marathon training plan because you have a lot of energy, and it's at the time where you taper before a race, so you're eating more and you're doing less, so you have a lot of this fidgety energy. But it's absolutely essential, because you imagine if you're running around 75% to 80% of your max heart rate for, say, up 2.5, 2 hours 20, up to like 3 hours, something along those lines, then we're going to need those carbohydrates, especially later on in the race, because otherwise you're a crash. I don't know if you've ever heard of people hitting a wall in marathon running. I personally have never hit it yet. I'm sure it'll happen one day. But the reason why people hit the wall, the most common reason is they lose carbohydrates and then the body has to transition to burning predominantly fats. So there's a little bit of time in between where you have no energy at all, and that's what the wall is essentially. So we do not want to hit the wall, hence why we eat a lot of carbohydrates before the race. So if this is a weekend, typically I would have just done a run now after my first meal, come back, and this would be a post-run or post-workout meal. I've got one bagel with half an avocado mashed over the top, 3 eggs that are scrambled. I'm a little bit weird. I like scrambling my eggs and putting them on the side. Cook them low and slow. Make sure that they've still got a little bit of, you know, we don't like to overcook the eggs. I like to do them a little bit towards the more underdone, medium rare if you would. And then on the side here I've just got one banana and an orange. As simple as that. The carbs only consist from the bagel and in the fruit. Got some fats in the avocado, protein in the egg also. But if I'm not carb loading, I'll typically have this meal without the banana and without the bagel. So I'll literally just have avocado, some eggs and an orange. So the addition, because I'm carb loading, is the bagel and the banana to have a little bit more carbs. Meal number 3, I've got some chicken honey roasted with a little bit of mustard, cayenne pepper, salt, pepper, chili flakes, ginger, garlic. Basically I let my chicken marinate and then on a Sunday I cook a big batch of them. Absolutely exquisite, and I normally have 5's, most fattiest meat. That has nothing to do with the carb load, that is just my preference. Got some broccoli on here, a little bit of mushrooms, but the carbs, I've got some baby potatoes that I've just cooked in a little bit of butter, parsley, salt, pepper and garlic as well. And then again, nothing to do with the carb load, but a mate of mine in work gave me a little bit of this recently, so I had to go out and buy one myself. This Frank's Red Hot sauce, yeah, but I'm not a big fan of Frank's the original. It's okay, very take it or leave it for me. But this jalapeno version, or coming from Birmingham, jalapeno version, is absolutely gold. It's quite spicy, but honestly, I don't mind it. It's not very overpowering. Put a little bit on there and it's absolutely lovely. So this is meal number 3, ladies and gentlemen. And if you're wondering why I've turned the table, I'm currently watching Man United host Manchester City, because Worsley Green have 2 players in this, I believe, Cancelo and Philly Foden. Cancelo's just got the assist. However, I've just realised he's my first spot on my bench, because in comes Reece James for this week. Ruben Diaz slotted aside. I've already got Chilwell, so we've gone for the double Chelsea defence. Very knee-jerky, I know, but my current overall rank is around 600 in the world.
Better warn you now, that was me on a 7, so wait to see me on a 9 or 10, innit?
Yes, I had a fantastic week. Oh, Phil Foden almost scored there, but he didn't, so let's hook into meal number 3. Now let me just introduce a subtle diet changes that I would implement a day before the race that I wouldn't implement throughout the whole 72 hours. Again, I could have just said 3 days. Anyway, let's get into it. These are little OTE hydration tabs. The brand isn't essential, but honestly, they're just the ones that I enjoy having the most. I like OTE, I've been using them throughout my training plan. I used to use SIS, but I don't know why. I find these a little bit better. Anyway, these are hydration tablets, and in hydration tablets, basically what they do is they have sodium and electrolytes in, so you just drop them into a drink, and I would have this with every single meal the day before the race. Or at least if I couldn't have them with every single meal, because I was in Paris, I was eating out a little bit more, I would have them kind of like, maybe I'll just have 2 in the morning, or basically have one so it matches that I'd have every meal. Cramps can happen through three main things: dehydration, fatigue, or a loss of electrolytes, which is basically sweat essentially. So we want to control as much of those variabilities as we possibly can do to stack the deck in our favour. Fatigue, there's nothing we can do about that. That's just part of endurance sports, right? However, sweat and sodium, we can control that by having these tablets right here, and we can also control hydration. Now the second thing that I'd do only the day of the race, this is more from a race fueling. What I was fueling with was basically water and these OTE berry super gels. The reason why I use these OTE super gels, basically they have twice the amount of carbohydrates in than a standard Science in Sport gel, for example. I've been introduced to these OTE ones and I absolutely love them. They taste great, they're very, very sweet, but obviously with 40 grams of carbohydrates in a sachet like this, it's essentially a lot of sugar, but this is quick digesting and this is absolutely fantastic for when we're operating around 75 to 80% of our max heart rate. Each one of these is around 160 calories, but they also have that 40 grams of carbohydrates. So basically you imagine your carbs, like you go into the race and your carbs are up here. Throughout the race you're going to be going down, and then maybe towards the end of the race you've got no carbohydrates, potentially you're going to hit the wall. However, if we can control that, where every half an hour we top up and then it comes down and we're topping it up, we're going to have more carbohydrates for longer. So I would have one of these again just before the run, just after jogging, and then I'd have like 3 throughout the race, which I had in a running belt. Also though, these gels have sodium in them, which is great for fueling us and great for keeping our electrolyte levels up, so we're less likely to cramp. The fourth meal of the day, I have another 120 grams of oats, a load of oats, but I normally have this exact meal, but again, I've just increased the amount of oats, the amount of carbs in this meal. I normally have around 80 grams of oats. Carb loading, I ramp it up to about 120, and a banana, peanut butter, pomegranate seeds. Nice and simple. If you're wondering why it's brown, again, I'm a cinnamon fiend. I add cinnamon to pretty much everything that is acceptable to add cinnamon. A few things I've added it to things that probably aren't acceptable. I've just been to the gym, hence the top change, and we have here an absolute mountain of white basmati rice, some tender stem broccoli, and then some salmon as well. This is a meal that I'd normally have. Sometimes I don't have rice, I'd have potatoes, but the amount of carbs that I need, I'm going to have rice for this one, and a lot of rice as well. The last meal of the day, I've just had a shower and honestly I'm feeling so full, man. I don't want to eat this, and this is a forced meal. If I was actually carb loading, I guess my mind's a little bit stronger because I know I've got to do it, whereas now, you know, I'm just doing it for a trial run just to show you lot. So I hope you're appreciating this absolutely high-tech stuff, ladies and gentlemen, and if you are, don't forget to drop it a like and let me know in the comment section. Now onto the meal. Honestly, least appetizing one of the whole day. It is pasta that I've boiled with some salt and then olive oil and some fresh Parmigiano, or Parmesan, mate, Parmesan cheese. And here in the shake, if you're a returning subscriber, you will be familiar with this. I didn't want to show you doing the shake because you just put stuff in a blender, mate, you know what I mean? Anyone can blend stuff. Anyway, I'll try and remember what's in it because there's a lot of stuff in there. I think it's like just under 700 calories just in the shake alone, and then pure carbs on the plate. Right, let's try and remember it. Banana, spinach, kale, apple, beetroot, celery, ginger, cucumber, carrot. I feel like I'm missing something. Last meal of the day. Let's get this down to end the carb load. Feeling exhausted, honestly. Anyway, without further ado, let's eat some pasta and olive oil, mate, you know what I mean? There we go everyone, that's the end of a full day of eating during my carb load for the marathon. Again, this was done for 72 hours and it couldn't have gone any better. From now on, I'm going to carb load for 3 days rather than 2 days. Some people do it for 2 days. I'm going to do it for 3 days from now on because I found the results to be so beneficial for me personally. And I did want to touch on that I'll have an Imodium before I race as well, just to make sure I don't want to go to the toilet, because honestly, going to the toilet is one of the most challenging things when you're running, because sometimes it makes you want to go to the toilet. If you want to try this, by all means, everyone's a little bit different with what foods digest well with them. For me personally, this works well, but the main thing to take away from this is getting 5 grams of carbohydrate per pound of body weight. What I would say is try and stick to foods that you know works well. Some people will carb load and maybe have a takeaway pizza or something along those lines. I don't like to do that because I don't want to disrupt the digestion. I want things that I know my body can digest because I eat them regularly. So I don't eat any crap food before a race. I eat things that I know my body can digest well. Personally, that's how I like to do it. It keeps my mind sharp as well. I hope you've enjoyed the video, found value in it. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have any further questions, feel free to put them in the comment section and I'll try my best to reply to most of them. If you've enjoyed the video, please do drop it a like. Consider subscribing if you are new. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next week.